Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. Earlier this week, our good friend Frank Clay, who is the curator over at Battleship Missouri, was in town, and he hadn't been on board the ship since we got back from dry docking. So we got to take him around the ship and show him all the cool things that we've acquired since then. The 1911, the drone, all the new 50 caliber machine guns, all of these cool things that in our January video just 5 months ago, we put out and said, hey, this is the hit list of things that we're looking to acquire in 2025. I haven't been able to find a Santa Claus to sit on their lap to ask them for Christmas presents. So I assume Santa Claus is one of our subscribers. So I'm just going to read my Christmas list out loud. An RPV drone, like Web gear, Deuce gear, 782 gear, Alice gear, whatever you want to call it, to the aluminum Emeco chairs. And man, the museum has gotten some really, really cool acquisitions. And that didn't end with those things. While Frank was here, we got a new box in the mail. And this video is an unboxing of that, so to speak. We unboxed it with Frank while he was here. Not entirely just to make him jealous, but that might have been the case. But we were going around with him and filming a bunch of stuff, so we didn't get the chance to film the actual unboxing. So today's video is the actual unboxing, and Frank accused Libby and I and the rest of the folks here at the museum of doing museum ships on easy mode with cheat codes enabled, because we just say into the universe, man, I want to find a drone, and within a couple of months one shows up. Man, I wish we had one of these original 1911s, and somebody with the expertise to track one down contacts us and helps us do it. Well, in today's episode, we have an original 1980s era powder bag for the 16-inch guns. And this is the first time Battleship New Jersey has had a real powder bag on board since probably 1990, the same year I was born. But before we talk about that, here's a word from today's sponsor. Thanks to Magic Spoon, we've got even more variety now than ever before. In addition to the many types of cereal that they've had for the longest time, or the protein bars that have come out more recently, they're now adding granola to their repertoire. Remember, Magic Spoon fits a variety of diets, it's high protein, no sugar, and great for carb-conscious lifestyles. Magic Spoon's treats are crispy, crunchy, and airy without the chewy stickiness of a protein bar. The ideal protein on the go. And their brand new high-protein granola keeps the Magic Spoon promise. Remember that viewers of this channel have a special discount code, Battleship, to get $5 off online orders. There's a link down in the description you can click on to get that, or you can find Magic Spoon on Amazon and at your local grocery store. So a couple of months ago, a viewer of the channel named Mike reached out to us and said that he had just acquired an original 16-inch powder bag for his personal collection, and he wanted some information on it and on the different stuff that's stenciled on the bag here. Firstly, we were kind of concerned that it was an actual live powder bag, and you know, with the powder deteriorating, there's no telling what it'll do. Like, oh my God, like, can you confirm that it is actually an empty bag? Because the pictures he sent looked much like this, which is pretty convincing. And he said, no, it's only a couple of pounds. It's not a full weight, 100-pound plus bag of powder. I got it from this location. And so we gave him as much help as we could. And then we also reached out to the gentleman that he had bought it from, who had one of these original bags left. So the story, as I think I'm getting this right, the Iowa-class battleships are decommissioned by 1992. However, they're still kept in mothballs up until the very early 2010s. I want to say 2012 is when Iowa was taken out of mothballs and turned into a museum. And at that point, the Navy starts to dispose of all the former battleship stuff that they had. The ammunition breaks down over time, and it doesn't last forever. So disposing of this was one of the things that they did probably right around 2012, although I can't say with 100% certainty. And they also disposed of a bunch of their shells. So most of the museum battleships you come out to, you'll see have a bunch of inert 16-inch projectiles lying around, like we do. So they disposed of that by rendering them inert, giving them to the museums. The powder, they more or less destroyed. I heard a rumor that the black powder, so you see how there's this quilted patch on the back of this. This is filled with grains of black powder, so like sand-like grains of black powder. The idea there being the primer that sets off the powder charge, it's only about this big, it's shooting a flame about this size into the powder bag. This is in the breech of the gun, so that's shooting into the bag. That's not enough to set off a grain, like this kind of grain, which is what is in one of these powder bags. This nitrocellulose cordite kind of has like a plasticky, extruded consistency. So this isn't enough to set this off and make it detonate. So the black powder here is what detonates, and then that creates enough force to set the 100 pounds of this off, which then sets off the other bags and fires the shell. Notice it's quilted in there, so all of this loose sand-like black powder doesn't just fall to the bottom, whereas this is more or less shooting into the middle. So this means that the powder is still staying distributed throughout that entire area. So I had heard that that black powder, which is essentially like artillery-grade black powder, was stripped out and either sold or given to reenactors. A lot of this stuff is probably stored in the Virginia area. There's a lot of reenactors in that area. There might be some truth to that story. It might just be a rumor. I've got no documentation to back it up. The actual propellant in here, the big grains of stuff, was destroyed. I don't know if they burned it or threw it into water, but that was disposed of. But some of these bags, which had been ripped open, were able to be acquired by an individual who was then the one who passed on to us. So in addition to getting this powder bag, we also got this whole set of documents here, which we'll go through some of in brief. So first of all, Captain John Spangler is the person who got us this bag. He's the one who saved, I think he said, roughly a dozen of these from being destroyed. So he included his business card, of course, and if you're interested in some of the militaria that he has, his card here says that he serves collectors and students of firearms and military history. So you guys, the folks watching this channel, and his website is oldguns.net. So you can scroll through his stuff. Last time I talked to him, he said that this was the last Battleship powder bag that he had, but he has a lot of other great stuff on there if you're interested in supporting somebody who supports museum ships. In addition to supporting Battleship New Jersey, he's also sent powder casings to some of the other ships. I think I heard he sent 3-inch casings to Texas and some other ships as well. So, in addition to the powder bag, he sent us several write-ups. He's something of a scholar of these sorts of things. So this includes a lot of information about this particular bag that it's probably just better for me to read his words based on his research than for me to try to repeat it. So this is U.S. Navy 16-inch 50 caliber battleship powder charge, type D846, which, yeah, the stencil on the bottom, says that specifically it is 1980s era using the 16-inch 45 caliber type of powder grains. So the 16-inch 50 guns used a grain that was called D839 primarily, while the 16-inch 45s used D846. Limited amount of the 50 caliber stuff that survives into the 80s and 90s. They start looking at extending their inventory by using some of the older 16-inch 45 powder that they had around. Burns a little bit hotter, so you can't use it the exact same way, but they had a lot of it around, and they had no ships that used those guns anymore. He also says that this is inert. It is filled with foam or something. It's not actually filled with grains of powder anymore. The Navy's 16-inch guns were spectacular pieces of engineering and manufacturing made in the days before computers and CNC machinery, with tremendous accuracy out to a range of about 20 miles. They fired projectiles weighing from 1,900 to 2,700 pounds, using 6 bags of powder for each round. The powder bags were generally between 100 and 110 pounds, depending on the type of powder and the time period. The World War II era powder bags were a soft, raw silk similar to flannel, and the powder grains, each about 1 inch wide by 3 inches long, were neatly stacked inside. By the Vietnam era, until decommissioning of the last of the Iowa-class battleships in 1991, the bag material was changed to a stiffer canvas-type fabric with foam lining for lower temperatures during powder combustion, prolonging barrel life. And the powder was dumped in rather than neatly stacked. No need for the 2,700, should be pound written there, armor-piercing projectiles. No one else had battleships requiring their ability to penetrate massive armor. The main projectiles used during this time period were high explosive or variants of the high explosive for special purposes, all in the 1,900-pound range. So powder charges were optimized for that mission. All of the bags were roughly 14 inches in diameter and about 16 inches long, with a lifting strap across one end, and the breech end has the red cotton fabric with a pattern of quilted pockets filled with black powder to ensure rapid ignition of each bag. So here you can see the lifting strap, which is used to pull them out of the aluminum canisters where they would be stacked in 3 deep. Do not use with 2,700-pound AP or BLMP, blind loaded and plugged projectiles. So that was pretty key for the D846 type powder versus the D839, which could be used with either type. It gives you the serial numbers and lot numbers, flashless or non-flashless powder. The weight of the charge is 593 pounds instead of the 660 pounds often cited for 6 of these, because this is optimized for the 1,900-pound projectile. 6 sections per charge, 2,690 feet per second, weight 1,900-pound projectile, and some more of the serial number stuff there, which he's got a sheet in here that explains that a little bit later on. For loads of great information on the 16-inch 50 caliber guns of the Iowa class, check out the NavWeps page. And one of the things that he included was a printout of the NavWeps page. Most of you guys probably already have this saved to your favorites bar like I do. I reference this stuff all the time, so that's great information to have. The powder bag is one of the later types. A small number of these were carefully unloaded and set aside for restoration when the Navy finally disposed of all remaining 16-inch projectiles, powder charges, and spare barrels about 10 years ago. The propellant charge and black powder ignition charge have been carefully removed and replaced with lightweight inert material. And the bag displays as if it were the full 100-pound charge, but weight is less than 10 pounds. Original markings as shown in the photos. Bag has been wrapped in clear plastic to protect it from dirt. We've already unwrapped that. He had several of the earlier World War II style, the raw silk version, 10 to 15 years ago. Those have all been sold off by now or given away. And recently found 2 of this type. So that's probably the one that Mike got and called us about, and then the one that the museum got here. And he doubts that they'll ever find any more, because again, it's been over a decade since these were disposed of. And then he again puts in there, it's inert and no explosive material is included. And then he also included 2 other documents in addition to the NavWeps page. There is a study from 1994 of replacing the original battleship powder, which does deteriorate over time, with a new type of powder. I haven't had the chance to read that yet. I've never run into this before, so I'm real excited to look at what his research has found on that. And he included an ammunition data card here, which is a bunch of numbers that mean very little to me. So he was kind enough to include a second copy of it that has some important stuff highlighted and a one-page write-up on what it is. One of these cards was included in every powder tank. Powder tanks include 3 powder bags to detail all the components used and any modifications or inspection done over time. The one that he had a copy of to send us is from Naval Weapons Station, Earl, New Jersey, so right up the road from us, the same place where the submarine New Jersey was commissioned. And it's for a 16-inch 50 caliber full charge with ammunition identification code, that's AIC, which I think is one of the numbers on the back here. No, that's ADL. For D839, oh, so that would be up here, I guess. And it's assigned an ammunition lot number, or ALN. No, that's a different thing there. I guess that's the lot number here for this particular one. The AIC and ALN is the abbreviated way to identify a particular powder charge or projectile. The ALN indicates the place it was made. This one is ER, which stands for Naval Weapons Station Earl, and the date is 1984. That's for the card in here, not necessarily this bag. And the specific lot made during that time, 004A, with the A indicating a modification was made. It lists the weight for the full 6-bag charge. It's 669 pounds. So yeah, that's heavier than what we've got here. And the exact lot of powder, SPD 10494, and the muzzle velocities for 2,700 and 1,900 pound projectiles. This lists additive jackets of a special design and lot number as being used for this lot. These were the 1980s developed foam liners, which greatly reduced bore wear during firing. Rubber stamped inspection 790 indicates that it was inspected in July of 1990, while at the Crane Army Ammunition Activity in Crane, Indiana, which was formerly the Naval Ammunition Depot Crane, but realigned to an Army activity in 1977 to handle all DoD ammunition matters. Down in the remarks section, we see that the ammunition was previously assigned ammunition lot number, gives a number, reflecting a manufacture date in 1968. So he believes that it was manufactured at Crane, but he's not 100% certain of this. And then that 1984 date that we see on here probably means that that's when it was overhauled to add the additive jacket and the bags were refilled and thus given a new lot number. The remarks also include EMCAA 889, quantity 18 tanks, removed and replaced 5 grains of propellant for code 50 atmospheric testing of tank and charge. This indicates that in August of 1989, the Crane Army Ammunition Activity opened a sample of 18 of the powder tanks for this particular lot for routine 5-year interval monitoring of the propellant powder condition. So 5 grains were removed from each of those 18 bags for quality assurance testing, with an equal number of grains replaced. And remember, this is what we mean when we say a grain, not what you're thinking of with a 1911 bullet where grain represents the weight of the bullet, or like regular artillery where a grain is like a grain of sand as opposed to one of these big beefy boys. With equal number of grains replaced to keep the charges at the correct level. Grains in this case refers to the individual powder grains about 1 inch by 3 inches long, not the grain weight often used in small arms ammunition. So this is fantastic as an addition to the museum. It's going to go up on display sometime in the near future so folks can see an original powder bag. There's a chance New Jersey is now the only battleship that has an original powder bag and not reproductions. Up until now, all we had were reproductions, which also gives us the opportunity to study how these things were made to make better reproductions in the future, how they were marked, and it really helps fill in our understanding of the powder bags, especially for me, the later additions to the powder bags. Between having this and Captain Spangler's own research here, I always read about the original manufactured raw silk powder bags that were about 18 inches by 18 inches and 110 pounds each, and just use that number for all of the powder bags, when in reality, they were doing different stuff with it in the 80s. And his research gives the museum more information on that than we've ever had before. So it's super exciting to learn this new stuff, to touch this original artifact, and to now have that information to pass on to all of you guys, which fulfills the museum's mission. We're happy to do that. For example, one of the things that having one of these in hand teaches us that I didn't realize is it's much narrower than the original made powder bags, and that seems weird to me. But I always wondered how they fit the additive that they put in, that foam additive that he lists that helped extend the barrel life of the 16-inch guns. Where did they find the room to put that? Because you do see footage of these bags with like a black thing laced around the outside. That's the foam additive. And so it must be about 2 inches wide, so that when it's wrapped all the way around this, it's adding an extra 4 inches of width, which then brings this 14-inch wide bag up to about 18 inches, which is the width of the breech of the gun, where the powder sits just behind where the rifling starts, where the shell sits. So that answers one of those questions I've had for the longest time, that they were repacking a lot of those original bags to make them the right size and weight for what they were doing later on in the 80s. So what's something important to Battleship history you think that we should wish into existence next? Let us know in the comment section down below, and we'll see how long it takes us to get it, or more accurately, how long it takes one of you guys to mail it to us without us doing any work at all. Frank is right. It does feel like this year we're playing Museum Ship Historian on easy mode. Thanks to all you guys helping us get the stuff that we ask for. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State, also from a number of other businesses and private individuals like yourselves. We really appreciate the support. Again, it's what helps us bring our museum to life with original stuff like this. You can also support us at the donate link in the description below, and by liking, sharing, and subscribing so more people find about the museum and our channel. Thanks for watching.